Hey guys, welcome to the Brad Penny channel, and let's drive and talk about Kenneth Ngosana Makate. It's actually a second take. I did a first take, and this case is really strange in the way that there was a reading that came out that the court, I think it's the Supreme Court of Appeal, SCA, they ruled in Makate's favor, saying that Vodacom has paid 20 billion. Then I did a video which I was in the midst of editing, and as I was finishing to edit it, then more articles came out, and I was already talking about the specific article, and I was unhappy on sort of like the narrative that the article is painting, saying that Vodacom will be forced to increase prices and lay off staff, which is really adding or throwing cold towards Makate, and how paying out this money will be to the detriment of, the economy, in terms of, or not the economy, but in terms of the economic situations of individuals within Vodacom, as well as clients of Vodacom, because they will be subjected to price increase so that this can be accommodated. Okay, that's a bit disingenuous, but okay, they did it. They did it anyways. And then I think I came across two more articles. Now, those two articles revealed, or there's a quote from the actual creator or inventor of the please call me function, who registered a patent. There's even a whole time flow showing when the patent was registered, then MTN actually implementing the first please call me solution or pioneering it, and then 2 months later Vodacom subsequently copying it. There was a little bit of a rift with regards to that, and yeah, and then where Makate fits in all this, he just introduced an idea called Buzz, which was technically a very different solution than the please call me solution. And this is what this article is raising. And yeah guys, just had to give a brief synopsis like that, because like I said, I did make a whole video. It's about 30 minutes long, and yeah, I have to make a new one. So what a way to keep me busy. And that's why I don't know if I'm gonna make the Wednesday upload, but I'll try my best. This will be the video if you guys get to see it on Wednesday. But yeah, let's have a talk about Mr. Makate, Mr. Please Call Me, and Vodacom situation. All right, let's get to it. Yeah guys, so as I mentioned, wow, this please call me debacle is really intriguing. Like, it's intriguing in a sense that there's just so much wrong about it, and at the same time there's so much to learn from a business point of view on how one conducts themselves when it comes to ideas or ideations within a corporate space. How do you actually work for a company, have an idea, and actually get the opportunity to present that idea, be protected, and also be rewarded when the idea actually creates economic benefits. And this really what's going on here, because yeah, wow. it's really intriguing. But now, as I said in my introduction, there's been a whole lot of things happening, and these articles are introducing new elements, which I find quite interesting in the sense that via Vodacom's defense, why hadn't they presented this, right? I also mentioned in my previous video that I haven't uploaded that Vodacom is so not willing to pay up this man that they are even willing to give credit to a competitor. Them saying that Makate is not the originator of the please call me idea. In fact, it was first implemented by MTN, and then subsequently there was an article that came out showing that, or quoting the original please call me originator. I just forgot his name, but I think his surname is Khan. I think it's Ari Khan. I might subject to correction for that one, but yeah, Ari Khan, and he's quoting to say that Makate should not even get a cent for the please call me invention, because he's the original patent holder of the please call me. And besides the theatrics of the quote and everything, and how it gets suddenly introduced, yes, it's been a long-standing situation in terms of him doing what he did to create the patent and so forth. But it's very interesting that only now that this person is actually coming out and so forth and whatnot. Why was he not part of the original defense from Vodacom? Because there's been so many L's taken by Vodacom that it has legitimized the situation, right? And also what people need to take into consideration is, even if Makate has an idea that is technically not similar and also technically not sort of viable as the idea that we know today of the please call me, based on what happened and what he's claiming and as evidence given, he is subjected, or he is in a position to claim some benefits. All right, it needs to be understood in that way. And the reason why it needs to be understood that way is because you're going back, you bring a case forward, and this is what he did. He obviously went to Vodacom. Vodacom said no. He went to court. They went through legal proceedings, and everybody stated their case. And unfortunately, Vodacom scored an own goal. I mean, looking at the facts now, I'm changing my position, because in my video, I'm like, Vodacom should have paid the man. They are creating more damage than any good, and this should be squashed, right? So it should be squashed because, based on another article, Vodacom has an ideation program, of which I find it quite interesting as well. They don't mention when this program was created, and mind you, it does not help if the program was created after the fact, right? Because you're trying to mitigate a problem that you're experiencing now, and then you can't just claim that, oh, we do have a solution, and therefore you're going to be subjected to the sort of like rules and stipulations or requirements of that ideation program that they are now running. So I'm quite interested. I just didn't get time to really research when this idea was introduced / implemented, and does it fall before Makate? Because if it's after him, it's redundant. It's not applicable. It can highlight something, but it's not going to be crucial as evidence to sort of like defend against what Makate is claiming against Vodacom. So that being said, at the end of the day, there's that, right? So the ideation program, how it works is, it pays employees that come off an idea up to 1 million after tax, and it's sort of like a rigorous sort of procedure whereby you present your idea, it gets sort of reviewed, and when it gets reviewed, if it passes and it checks out commercially, then eventually you get to be paid something up to 1 million after tax. Okay, fair enough, that's cool. It's still very shady, because I mean we're talking billions, yeah, and you want to pay someone little around up to 1 million, and there's possibility of making billions. I mean, yeah, but look, it's something, right? Now, that being something, going back to Makate's case, he is his case really comes down to the fact that he was the finance manager at Vodacom, and at that point, this is around 2001, and at that point he is of the opinion that, or not of the opinion, he presented evidence which clearly the court has accepted, and this whole case is based on that a manager of his, which I wish they could have detailed what position as exactly, because he was a finance manager. So who manages the finance manager? I don't know. Could have been the CFO. I don't know. But clearly someone. I just wish they could have detailed it, or somehow I might have missed it. So this finance manager promised compensation to Makate, and that's what legitimizes his claim. Now, from a mercantile law point of view or commercial law point of view, that's an agreement. That agreement is valid, it's fair to both parties, and therefore that is why we are where we are, right? Because this claim by Makate and the evidence that he was due compensation for the idea that he presented. Now, I'm not privy to the details on how he managed to convince the court that whatever that idea may be, right? Because remember, sometimes, so what's happening right now, people are, or these articles are disputing the fact that he has an idea. This idea, being Buzz, was very different to the actual please call me idea or concept. So, and also they adding further to say it was technically not viable for the idea to be implemented out in the form that Makate presented. So what effectively could have historically happened is, because MTN released the initial version of the Please Call Me, Makate had his idea, Vodacom was under pressure, therefore them being under pressure to respond to a competitor's newly launched service or idea or product, they were desperate for something. So Makate's submission could have helped in terms of their idea generation of them coming to a response to their competitor, and therefore giving Vodacom an advantage or an analytic advantage. In other words, if you have an idea, if you have ideas and you're brainstorming and you're somehow part of the brainstorming or solution finding to responding to your biggest competitor, that is something that contributes to the well-being of the business. And henceforth, it's very nice to speak in hindsight and say, oh, Vodacom should have done this, manager should have not promised this, and so forth. Makate is wrong, whatever the case may be. So in hindsight, yes, perfect science, you can apply the most ideal way of dealing with things, but with things going in real time, it was not so easy. It was clearly a time of pressure. It was a time for Vodacom to respond. And whatever conversations that Makate was having and whatever Vodacom was trying to do in order to place themselves in a situation whereby they're able to launch something that can, successfully respond to the situation that we're in, all of that is something could have led to a situation whereby a senior manager made a promise in agreement. I mean, in verbal, it could have been a verbal agreement, could have been a written agreement, whatever the case may be, that the court, and this is very important for people to understand, whatever way that he submitted the evidence that he is able to get, a claim, or he's able to prove that he's owed money by virtue of being promised funds. That is very key, and that's, you could say, the one own goal that clearly occurred somehow, right? And that person was senior enough to represent Vodacom, and that's exactly what happened. So yes, I get the argument about it. Technically, what he presented was not the please call me invention or the please call me solution as we know it. It was sort of like a derivative or an alternative solution that might have sought to achieve the same outcome as a please call me, but it's not fundamentally the please call me. I get that and I agree with it. Unfortunately, for those that are supporters of Makate, that's true, but we are where we are in a sense that there were promises that were made to Makate, and he has subsequently proven his case to the court. And based on that as well, Vodacom has a case to answer to. They need to pay the money based on that. They have failed to successfully defend themselves. Now, I also concede the fact that, hey, right now they are looking to go to the Constitutional Court to appeal this latest ruling, because now, remember, initially they were instructed to come up with an offer, which the CEO of Vodacom came up with 47 million. Now we're talking they have to pay at least 20 billion. So imagine from 47 million to 20 billion. And what the article suggests that he should not even get 1 cent because of what I just explained. Now, with all this concept of two ideas that are very different from one another, and yeah, it's clearly a battle of narratives right now. But one thing that stands is the court has made a very clear and decisive decision that of what Vodacom must do. So it's a very curious situation, and you know, I hope there's some Netflix preparation to have this covered as a special, because wow, this has to be some wild story. Like, this is just box office. But I digress. So yeah, so Vodacom sits with the situation whereby they have to pay at least 20 billion to Makate. I also made reference to the fact that, hey, if everybody's saying that people are going to lose their jobs, I mean, if 20 billion give it to Makate and clearly he has some ideas, he can create a new business that will employ all the people that would have been fired by Vodacom, and he'll create a whole competitor. And I think that will be, with all things regarded as perfect, even more detrimental situation for Vodacom, which will just be L after L. I mean, the consecutive amount of L's that Vodacom has been taking with relation to this case is outstanding. It's simply outstanding. But anyways, so Vodacom has to pay 20 billion. Now, look, from a legal defense point of view, or from a legal point of view, I don't know if they're going to the Constitutional Court. And with these new revelations, I say new even though they're pretty old, because clearly it was within public discourse that Ari Khan is the original Please Call Me creator. Why he did not come out earlier, I don't know. But if his case were to be taken into serious consideration and presented to court, it really, really poses a very, very big threat to the claim of Makate. But once again, as I said, based on commercial law and laws of contract and so forth, Makate has a case because Vodacom entered into an agreement that they promised some sort of compensation. Now, what would be interesting is within that agreement, do they actually stipulate the buzz idea, or what do they call the product that they are agreeing on, to say that, remember now, this is very important, to say that we will compensate you for what? Based on what? What are the terms of compensation? Or what are the terms that lead to compensation based on what they have agreed upon? Now, I've been seen an article that explains that, because, as I'm saying, if he is due revenue based on a please call me concept, whether you're gonna argue after the fact whether it's similar or not, it's irrelevant. the legal question currently is that based on the agreement, what is it that you have said or you have discussed that leads to a compensation clause being agreed to? Clearly there was something, and unfortunately from a legal point of view, if you wrote in very simple terms or in a very open term, in other words open to interpretation, or you were specific, maybe from buzz you decided to call it please call me, hence I'm saying, or as I'm saying, that clearly there was a lot of pressure during that time, and that pressure led to a whole lot of things being done for the better or for worse, but things happened and somebody messed up within Vodacom, that's for sure. But I hope you guys get me. What is the actual term that says between Makate and the senior from Vodacom that says, based on what you have presented, we will compensate you X amount? Because now, before the court, Makate has submitted, I think, 3 variations of calculations on how he wants to be compensated based on the idea of the please call me solution. And it's about, I think, minimum of 5% up to 8% or so on revenue generated from, I think it's March 2001 up until a certain future date. And yeah, he would like a percentage of the gross revenue generated out of the please call me idea, of which there's a lot of complicated ways to come down to what is the actual gross amount attributable to please call me. Because now Vodacom is a big company, they could have benefited initially from the please call me in a certain way, and then because they are benefiting and there's growth happening, they have expanded their business as we know it today. They have financial services, they have private equity, sort of like loans that they provide, Voda land, whatever. The business has grown, so there's a whole lot of economic benefits, and I think they estimated everything to be about 194 billion. That's sort of what they're looking at in gross revenue, and this is excluding actual investments, right? That's not part of the conversation. You just literally talk about monies generated, right? And that's where the focus is now, right, in terms of compensation. What, because he came with a claim, so clearly the claim is legitimate. We can't ignore that. Yes, we can fight about the technical idea being similar or not, but you can't fight the fact that the idea is, the agreement is legitimate. And that's where Vodacom shot themselves in the foot legally. And as they go into the court right now trying to defend this thing or trying to squash this thing, they just have been failing. So I'm just saying all this, guys, because now, yeah, that's where it is. From a legal point of view, once again, the law tends to be unfair usually to people that don't have money, because those that have money, they have the resources to legally prepare themselves adequately to put themselves in a position whereby if challenged, they will have a way to get away with the situation. And then most of the time, then you just throw legal fees so that you can stress out the situation, stress out the other person who doesn't have as much funds as you, and therefore they end up quitting or letting go of this. Or if you discover that you are being defeated, blah blah blah, then you settle out of court. So Vodacom is not following that script whatsoever. In fact, they are losing that script, because David and Goliath situation, right? Like Goliath is losing right now, and as Goliath is losing, Makate is in a very strong position, because this case involves billions, and because it involves billions, the lawyers or the legal help that he's getting, they're gonna get their payday is almost guaranteed. So he has the funds that he has relatively to the amount that he's claiming, and Vodacom is, yeah, I don't know, guys. The Vodacom must just figure out their life right now. So yeah, I mean, this is one odd case. And there's just so much happening, and I'm baffled. I mean, as an entrepreneur, I'm happy that someone had an idea, spoke to who he needed to speak to get to a position. And this is what's very important, what we need to learn out of this. As an entrepreneur, you take advantage of opportunities. Makate did exactly that. If Vodacom was not sophisticated enough, or they dropped the ball somehow, hey, that's business. They lost at that moment, so yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? You can't help but argue that. And I feel that they really dropped the ball. Like, oh wow, and this does not speak against Makate, but like, let's be honest, if you don't have the original patent of the please call me idea, and yeah, look, I don't know, that's what I'm saying. Like, the guy with the patent really complicates the situation, because now, and even if it's complicated, guys, let's not make the mistake, or do not mistake me to say that Makate deserves nothing. He deserves something, because Vodacom entered that agreement, and Vodacom cannot cry foul for their mistake. I think that's what needs to be understood. The only thing that needs to change is that Makate is not the original please call me creator. It's as simple as that. If everything is true, of course, based on what one has read. I mean, if there's someone that literally created the please call me idea, patented it, and then I don't know, because it's not really documented whether he released it in collaboration with MTN, or he presented the idea to MTN and therefore he was well compensated, or him and MTN signed an agreement saying that you are not going to say anything about, so it's like a non-disclosure agreement saying that, okay, we'll pay you something, but you must not say anything, right? And then maybe Vodacom approached MTN, and then some sort of conversations were had, and then MTN sort of relieved. So maybe Vodacom paid MTN something, because I believe they would have done it, because this information will not just come out. There's just no ways. And they've paid something to to MTN, allowing Vodacom access to information that was not previously available, especially to them as a competitor, to help them from a situation. And yeah, there must have been some compensation. There must have been an exchange of something of value for that information to come out, and for the person who's now singing like a bird to say what he's saying about this please call me thing. It's totally crazy. So yeah, guys, that's really my thoughts on this. And yeah, wow. Yeah, I'm gonna try to upload this video as soon as possible before things change again. But yeah, so that's really my thoughts. Tell me in the comment section what you guys think. Is it fair for Makate to still get 20 billion plus, as the court has stipulated, considering the latest revelations? Is he also still liable, because now he's not the originator of the please call me idea, but he created something that Vodacom was convinced to create an agreement, or have an agreement with him to compensate him? That's very important. What is that thing that made Vodacom to say, no, it's fine, we will pay you for what you have said or what you have proposed? I mean, there's something there. We cannot ignore that. Vodacom cannot ignore that and act like that does not exist. It does exist, and they need to compensate the man for what they agreed to. So those are two different things. He's not the original please call me creator, but he proposed something that Vodacom saw of value enough to promise that we will compensate you based on 1, 2, 3. And then all of that is taken. Now he's come back and said, guys, this is what you promised me. I want my money, pay. So based on that, he is due what he's due. I don't know how much it is because there are certain things that are missing. But based on procedure, legal terms, laws of contract, Vodacom has entered into a contract and they must honor it, or they must settle towards honoring it, right? So yeah, so interesting. But yeah, I'll keep an eye on it. Let me know if somebody knows something, you know. I'll really appreciate your input. But yeah, guys, found this very, very interesting. But yeah, that's it for Drive and Talk today. Please remember to like and share, comment below, let me know any topic that you want me to discuss. It doesn't have to be current affairs, could be anything. It's just that right now there's just so many interesting things. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Bye.